Hello, everyone. My name's Peter Towers. I'm the Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS, and welcome to our members. And today I'm joined by Amanda Gascoigne. G'day, Amanda. You're on the screen there now.
Hi, Peter, and hi, everyone.
And Amanda will be commenting on the sort of services that she can provide to accountancy firms a little bit later in our presentation today. If you have any questions, can you please type your question in to chat, and I'll have a look at those, and Amanda and I will comment on your questions. But if you're watching this webinar as a video later on in your own time or time that's more convenient to you, and you have a question, then please send us an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Today we're on the third series, I think, of the special promotion we're running on business advisory services, and we've started with the starter package, which many of you would know as the bronze package. I'd even forgotten its name then for a moment. The bronze package. And we're going to work through this once a week in July and August. That will take us to finish the key components of the starter package. And then we're going to start doing the same type of activity, looking at the remainder of the gold package. Just a reminder for any of you who are gold subscribers that everything we're talking about today, even though we're calling it the starter package, is included within the gold package. But we will be looking at the additional items in the gold package from September onwards. And we hope that you get a good understanding if you needed additional input into how ESS BIZTOOLS operates. Well, today we're going to look at purchasing or commencing a business. What's the process? And what we're going to be looking at is a number of the series which we have developed to enable you to communicate with your clients. So if you just bear with me a moment, what I'm going to do is share the screen and bring up our website. So you should now be able to see the ESS BIZTOOLS website. And I hope you're all very familiar with this, but just in case you're not, we're now going through the individual products, and we are going to locate the client mentoring or coaching, which is the theme for today. So this is the client mentoring or coaching module within ESS BIZTOOLS, and I'm going to download the content. And what we have here, you have a choice of all of these products for you to directly communicate with your clients. Now, the process I'm going to be going through today is the same in each of these, except of course they got different information. If you have dealings with clients and you find that we don't have a package within client mentoring and coaching that you would like to use, please send me an email and we'll put it onto our development list as to some additional material that we should include. Because we see this part of the process as being about helping you to educate your clients or your prospects on the types of services that you can supply to them. I think one of the problems that accountants have is, having made the decision to offer business advisory services, you think that your clients are immediately going to come to you and talk about it. They don't know. You need to communicate and market to them. We developed this series of products, client mentoring and coaching, to assist you to have that communication with your clients, because I think they need to know what it's all about. If they're going to pay you extra money over and above their fees for the preparation of an annual set of accountants and a tax return, what are they getting for their extra money? Some people say to me, they'll do it themselves. I've really never found anyone do that. Some people might threaten or suggest that they'll do it. They soon give up. They come to accountants because they really don't like doing what we do. And I think that you need to play along with that if they say they could do it themselves, but keep on talking to them, keep on presenting these ideas to them, and you will win them over. So what we're going to do is to click on purchasing or commencing a business. And then we have these checklists. But before we go there, I just want to bring up the purchasing or commencing a business procedure. This is a summary of it, and what I should have done. That share hasn't worked, I don't think, somehow.
I've just got a blank screen there for the minute, Peter. Here it is now. It's come up now. Here it is now.
I misread. My apologies. If you've done Zoom, you'll understand. I hope when you end up with a screen, it's got a whole full of stuff. It's a bit hard to pick your finger on which one you've got to click sometimes. Maybe it's my eyesight. Anyhow, we've got purchasing or commencing a business. Amanda's confirmed it, and Evelyn, my offsider here, has it on her screen. So we're right. Now, what this gives you is a summary of what we're going to be doing today. The first couple of paragraphs is really repeating what I just said to you. I think this is important for you to go through this information session. And what we're doing is sending your clients, or what you're doing using the system, is sending your clients some information. Now, this one's targeted at people who are planning to commence or buy a business. So we're going to send them the first mail out, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then a week or 2 weeks later, and that's up to you. There's a bit of material here for your clients to read, but it's not going to take them weeks. But then you send them the second series. But the important thing is, I think it's very desirable that after each series gets sent to them, that someone telephones them and asks them, have they got any questions? And I'll show you the form that we want them to complete and send back to you in a moment. But please follow up. Just don't send, there's 6 series in this particular product package. Don't send 6 communications out to them over a 6 or so even a 12-week period if you send it every 2 weeks without having communication with the client. Remember, please, we're suggesting you do this to nurture your relationship with your client so that they will appoint you as their advisor to give them more services. So this is part of your sales process. This is part of your marketing to them. So second week, we're going to be sending out, and then there's a cover letter for each mail out, and there's a survey form. Then the third week, or the third mail out, and the fourth one. And that's how the process works. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I'm just going to clear that out. And I'm going back. And we got you on screen now, Amanda. So do you got any comments on what we've said to there? I can't. Wait there, you're muted, Amanda.
No, I've muted it. It's okay. Yeah, look, I think that I cannot also stress enough about that education, marketing, and doing this stuff and sharing it with your clients. One of the things I did exactly, I didn't have ESS BIZTOOLS when I was in my practice, unfortunately, Peter, but I did have a similar document that I would send out whenever I got an inquiry, because this is what typically happens. A client comes in and says they want to start a business or purchase a business. We sit in front of them, give them all of our information, and quite often they're overwhelmed. But then they leave, and either they're going to go and proceed with it, or they still haven't thought about so many things. They just want us pretty much to get them their ABN and get them the setup. That's what they come to us for. So by actually sending something out, either even before that meeting, really can change the expectations and lead that initial discussion so much better. And in fact, so in some instances, when I actually had sent this information out to people that were looking at buying a business, they actually came back to me and said, actually, this is all too hard. I didn't realize there was so much involved in running a business. And I think we can all attest to that when we've seen people that come in for the appointment. It's really hard for us to squash their excitement and enthusiasm, but we're thinking these people are either going to need a lot of help, or, you know, you sort of can pick some of those people where this actually can tend to weed out, because not everyone is meant to be a business owner, you know. So I think that sort of stuff is really, it sort of takes the emotion out of a lot of stuff, and it does cover it and gives them time to think, and everyone learns differently as well. So some people are really receptive to talking and listening, others might need a little bit of time, so that reading is fantastic. And I think the surveys are really good as well. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and just to do things differently, because we're so time poor, we tend to throw all the answers and show these prospective clients how good we are to get the work. We've got to take a step back and do this sort of work. And I know accountants and advisors are so time poor, so that's why having something that can plug and play is also very desirable.
Thanks very much, Amanda. Yeah, and I agree. In fact, I think at times we need to discourage some people from going into business, especially the people who say they're only going to work 35 hours, or as I had one client tell me he's going to work 20 hours a week. Well, unfortunately, it didn't last. He had the money. He went and bought a business, but he wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Some people do.
He wasn't prepared to manage, and he didn't like my suggestion that if he wasn't going to do it, he better budget to pay someone $100,000 a year to do his job for him. And he didn't like that suggestion either. So he hit the wall, unfortunately.
And it also talks, those documents, I'm sure they talk about, you know, thinking about how big these businesses want to grow, and looking at, you know, at the minute, these things may not be, you know, a consideration, but they know, because they've got that information, that when they do want to hire a staff member, when they do want to buy a premises, they know to come and talk back to the accountants and advisors. So it's actually planting the seed for that whole long-term relationship.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we can just go back to where I was. And the material which we've now got is the website back up. I'm going to now click on series number 1. And this is the checklist structures. And so you've now got a list of what's in this document. Now, this series on there. The first one I want to bring up is the purchasing or commencing a business letter, which should now be on your screen. I don't know what's going on.
No, we've still got
I'm getting told that, yeah.
Okay, so Peter, when you go to share screen on the very top,
I hit the wrong one.
Corner,
yeah.
It'll show your screen.
I hit screen number 2, yeah. Screen number 1, yeah. Okay, purchasing or commencing a business. So there's a letter. Now you can edit this letter if you wish, but this is our suggestion. Obviously, put their name in it, their name of the business. Don't let them think it's just something you've photocopied off out of a system. And you could personalize this a bit more if you wanted to. But the main thing is, I think you follow up, as Amanda just said. Some of these people come and talk to you. They haven't quite made up their mind. You may have discouraged them a little bit in the first interview, but I'd still send this to them, because when they get home and they reflect and they realize they're going to probably have to do a few more than 35 hours a week, and it might be going to cost them more money than what they originally thought. This at least is giving them some foundation. So what we're explaining in this letter, what we're going to do, you're enclosing some information for them. Now, I know some of my clients charge for this. I never really intended it to be something you would charge. You can do that if you wish. This was meant to be part of the public relations communications with your client to convert them out of a mindset that said that accountants are only wanting to do annual accounts and tax returns. Well, this is prepared to help you to sell value-added services. I think you've got to inform the client if they're going to pay you $5,000 to $10,000 or even more dollars a year over and above the cost of an annual set of accounts and a tax return. It's as simple as that. I think you have to market to them. So that's the document that you would send to them. And we're not going to need that again, so I'm going to get rid of that so it doesn't clog up my screen too much. The next document then that I will want to show you is the survey form. But I didn't get it. My apologies, I'm having trouble finding that. We got that now?
No, I think you clicked one too many. So just that's it. That's it.
I think that's what I did before, but anyhow, that obviously didn't work before. Okay, so what you have then is a series survey form. And because this, what we listed here, we're suggesting you're going to send the clients some articles, some papers that are in the system. They've been sent, as I said earlier, to inform the client what it's about. But I think the important thing is you get some feedback then. Did the client find these articles about small business overview interesting? Were they helpful? Pitfalls in starting a business, how did they rate that? The business structures, partnership, companies, trusts, whatever. What did they think of that? The explanation of what a sole trader is. And if you get any coming back giving you 4 and 5s, please send me an email, because that must mean there's something wrong in our articles that we need to look at if SMEs are saying they're not very helpful for them. Asking them for any comments or suggestions. And this is the form that I think you should have someone in your office, part of your team, ring the client and say, Amanda, we'll treat you as the accountant. Amanda talked to you a few days ago. We've sent you this information. Amanda wanted to know if you had any questions or if you need to see her. And that way you're getting that communication with the client. If the client says, yes, I've thought of a number of other matters I now want to discuss, and those articles made me think about them, I'd like to make another appointment and come in and talk to Amanda. That's what we're trying to help you achieve without you having to sit down and write all of this material, obviously. So hopefully that helps. Any comments on that, Amanda?
Yeah, one of the things that I liked what you said in the beginning about, you can use this material and customize it to however you want. And that's exactly what I did with the document that I sent out. And I think it was about 70 pages. So I had it as one PDF document, but in there was a lot of generic information. But then I also put things particular to what I did. So I actually had the cost of setting up. So this is the cost, for a company and a trust. This is the annual cost for their financials and what they would need to do that, and talked about tax planning. So, and I just had it in one whole document. So that could be something that you could do. You could put your logos on, brand it. If there's some things that you don't want in there, you can take them out. But I would suggest that you leave as much as you can, so you're giving that whole the comprehensiveness. And I think, you know, for us as advisors, it all comes very naturally to us. So we just sort of, all this stuff, we know exactly when we talk to a client what structure they need. We have it all, you know, we've got it sort of already organized. But, you know, we're doing that because of the number of years experience that we've got. Others aren't, others, you know, may not have that level of experience and know-how. So I think we sometimes take what we do and what we know for granted, and that then impacts significantly on what we're asking for that, you know, what we're asking for a fee. So by looking at all that, there is a lot to go through. We're actually fast tracking clients to get the best possible solution on day one. And I think that is very much something that's underestimated, you know, from ourselves. But and this document just shows how involved the stuff is, you know, what we look at year end, you know, whether we want quarterly meetings, whether we want, you know, how we're going to budget, all of that stuff is so important. So giving it in that document, I did mine for free as well, Peter. I didn't sort of, you know, for me, even if that client decided not to pursue the business, it was, you know, an easier, you know, use of my time sending out that document to them instead of saving 2 or 3 meetings that I could not recover because I didn't proceed. Yeah.
Okay.
So tailoring it and going through it and really understanding it and looking at it from, you know, someone that, you know, these people don't have the experience, and sometimes they're hearing stuff from other people that isn't right. So we want to give them the correct information from day one.
Very well said. Okay, well, we'll just go back now and look at the next item that I wanted to bring up, and I'll just go back to where we are. So the other item I wanted to show you was the flow chart, which we'll so the unit trust flow chart that you have, make sure you badge this before you send it to your client. Above those double lines there is your space that you can put your firm name, your contact details. One very experienced accountant told me one night that the best, and he subscribed to ESS BIZTOOLS for a long time, or his firm did, told me the best documents we had in ESS BIZTOOLS was our flow charts on trusts. He really liked discretionary trusts because he had a lot of clients from Europe and Asia who had no idea of the concept of trusts. This one here that's in this package is on the unit trust. So if you think that's suitable for your clients, obviously, if there's some reason you need to personalize that or amend it, you can print it off and do that and then send it to your clients. But that document's there for you to be able to communicate. Now, I don't propose to go through the papers because you've got access to them. There's a number of papers there which we're suggesting in that first series are going to the client. Just make sure they're badged before you send them out. They've got your name on them. And there's a fair bit of information there. If you believe that a client might balk at getting that much information, perhaps you could take some of those papers out and send them to him or her separately. Just mark on the survey form that those particular papers will be sent a little bit later on. And once you've finished that series, we're then going to go into the next series, and that's what I brought up here now. And I'm just going to show you the contents of these just to remind you what's in there. We've then got self-analysis.
We're still on, Peter, we're still on the set law, still on the unit trust diagram.
Right. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I've got to go back and change. Yeah. Now my mouse has decided not to work.
While you're doing that, I'll just make one other point in relation to structures. A lot of businesses that are looking at setting up, they just think they want to go the sole trader straight away because it's, you know, cheaper, it's easier. What I also found, even if it's not the whole package, even if you're sending out to clients just a small amount, because they say they want to come in and set up a business, maybe they've already made up their mind, maybe they've already, you know, got the ball rolling. In relation to the structures, I did send out like a flow chart and, you know, the different characteristics of each of the different structures. And you know, out of all of the people that came in, they actually came to me and they said, we don't want a sole trader, we don't want a partnership, let us, we're going to do the company or the trust. Now, I think for that, they've actually had that realization before they're sitting in front of us. When we sit in front of a client and go through those options, you know, quite often we're going to come up with a corporate structure. And, you know, you've got to think from the client's perspective. They might walk out, even though they at the time they agreed with you, and yes, we agree it's good for asset protection and all the rest of it and tax savings. When they go out, they might have that second guess, you know, the second guessing themselves, should I have handed over a couple of thousand for that structure when, you know, my friend or my, you know, brother and sister told me just go the sole trader, it'll cost you nothing. And, you know, but by giving them that information earlier, they are absolutely convicted when they walk out of that, even though they might be a few $1,000s shorter in their credit card, they're not having any second guesses because they've already made that decision before they've come to you, and they don't feel like we've sort of pushed them into anything. So that also is the power of actually thinking about, you know, doing things before that meeting and sending this educative, you know, material out before you meet, you know. Yeah.
Because they've now got some information, haven't they, on which to base their decision.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got this set up right now. So that's just a summary now of what is in the self-analysis document number 2. It's, again, there's another letter, which I'm not going to bring up now. You can, we're talking to subscribers today. You can go onto the system and look at it. There's a series 2 letter, and then there's various documents. There's a rating chart to assess your strengths and weaknesses. I think that's a great form for people to look at. Have you got enough money? Very important question. And I try to urge accountants, especially our subscribers, don't underprice yourself in your services. I don't like seeing clients with budgets that they reckon an accountant's prepared saying accountancy fees $2,000 or $3,000. That's only the tax return fee. This is your opportunity to be able to clearly identify to your clients that you can perform for them an accounting service and give them some worthwhile information, which is going to help them survive in business. Remember the statistics on the failures in that first 3-year period. You want to, this is all part of trying to help the client to avoid that. And that's going to cost them. And it's part of whether they got enough money in the first place for them to think about. The series continue so that we are able to then look at Series 3 is successful acquisition of sources of finance. Series 4 looks at insurance, accounting records, and asset control. Series 5, sales recording, debtors, payroll, inventory, and Series 6 generally looks at record keeping. So you've got this whole package of services for you to communicate. It's your decision if you decide for some clients you're only going to send them Series 1. Others you might send them the lot. But please bear in mind, I think this should be helping you lay the foundations to being able to produce a great range of services for your clients. So I'm now going to move on, and I'm going to invite Amanda Gascoigne to now give you an overview of the type of services that Amanda offers these days as a consultant, not as an accountant anymore, but as not as a practicing accountant, say that properly, but to give you an insight into the type of services and help that she gives to accountants to be able to help you run better practices. So over to you. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Peter. So I'm just celebrating 22 years in business this year. I've been self-employed for 22 years, and I've worked with in my own practice. I had my own practice for 18 years, so worked with predominantly small to medium-sized businesses for 18 years on my own in my own practice, and then prior to that in a large and then a mid-tier firm. So one of the things that, you know, I absolutely loved being in practice, but one of the things that I found as I was going to different conferences and seminars was actually talking to so many practice owners that were actually struggling, or, you know, they'd started to lose a bit of their passion for what they're doing. It wasn't as good as what they thought it was going to be, you know, struggling with, you know, with clients, all of the deadlines, with, you know, even making the money that they thought they were going to be. So I had always wanted to do coaching, and I did start that. I started coaching business within the practice, in a sense, but more not, I really wanted to sort of do something outside of accounting. So I always had a thought that I would actually sell my practice when my children finished school. They're now 20 and 21. And that time came a little bit earlier when I was actually approached to sell my practice, because again, someone heard how profitable my practice, you know, knew how successful and how I was actually able to have a life and my practice as well, because I was out doing lots of stuff with my children on weekends and into Sydney where they were at school. So a few opportunities arose, and then I sold my practice to my youngest brother. So that was a really nice segue to doing more of this coaching. But what I found when I was coaching also just some small businesses, not necessarily the accounting practices at that stage, was they wanted me to also be their accountant, because they said, well, I've learnt more from you in that period of time than I have with my accountant that I've been with for 10 years. You know, that's the thing. I also do that when I go around to different seminars. So I thought, well, how about I do my coaching with, you know, accountants and just solely focus on accounting practices? And, you know, to be honest, when I started it, it was actually quite difficult trying to just, you know, it is, I guess, a niche market. But I was really passionate about doing that and just transferring a lot of the knowledge that that I actually acquired over the years and developed over the years. So now my whole role is actually working with small and solo accounting practices, teaching them the things that I did in my practice, helping with them with anything from a practice management point of view. Because the other thing that I've learned is that a lot of practice owners, they're great at the technical side. They are great at relationship building and maintaining that. But where they've come from before, their previous employers held their cards very close to their chest when it came to practice management. So what metrics we have to look at? What are the other things that we need to do? Because, you know, those things just miraculously used to happen. The marketing, the debtors, the mail, the lodgement deadlines, you know, those things just come hard and fast. And, you know, we're trying to actually juggle all of that in addition to having a really nice life. So my message that I actually talk to accountants about is I want practice owners to have a better practice and a better life. And I want them to have those two things concurrently, because I don't believe that, you know, to be successful, you don't want to be successful in one area of your life and then really struggling in another. So it's got to be that balance, and there's got to be some trade-offs. So I guess the way that I work with accountants these days, I have clients that I work with one-on-one, and they're all over Australia, and I do have a New Zealand client as well, so all over Australia. But I also, that's my high level coaching, but I also do a lot of courses. So recently I did a tax planning course, which was really well received. Different courses I bring out just during the years as needed. I have a 5 weeks to a balanced firm course, and I have a 5 weeks to a, you know, it's called it revise your practice model and pricing model, I guess, but they're getting morphed into one, and they'll be released shortly as a one course, so just a one signature course. I also do a lot of advocacy work in the accounting industry, so work closely with chartered accountants on their public practice advisory committee, and also that's a 3-year appointment, and also being a mentor to them. So I sort of do a little bit of, you know, it's a really nice balance because I practice what I preach as well. So it's not just all about making the money. It's actually about being really enthusiastic about what you're doing and loving everything that you're doing, you know, loving the clients that you work with. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges I see with practice owners is, you know, how do they get that balance? How do they get their practice model to be something that they're really proud of and really uniquely theirs? Because we're getting sold all of this marketing things. We have to have this, we have to have that. And what other people actually deem to be a successful practice. And we're looking at that and looking all those answers. But sometimes, well, I believe that every practice is unique and it's up to us how we want to run our practices. And that's what I basically help people really get clear on what the practice owners' goals and visions are. And, you know, I have a lot of people that are working, you know, huge hours and they just don't want to be doing that. That's not what they signed up for. Some might just want to work 4 days a week. Some may want to be able to be there when they're, you know, take the kids to school and be there before their kids go to bed. Like it's as simple as that in a lot of instances. So I really am passionate. You know, any of my marketing, you'll see I don't talk about the money side of things of practice. And I think the people that I want to help are the people that are probably underselling themselves a little bit, or maybe a lot, but really about, you know, if we have all those other things that are very critical, you know, having the right clients, offering the right mix of services, which, you know, you and I are both advocates of having that lovely mix of compliance and advisory, utilizing the technology, you know, utilizing networks and resources, you know, such as you don't have to do it alone. When we've got all of those things in unison and working together and totally aligned with what we want from our practice in our lives, the money and all the other things come. Right. So that's a byproduct of doing all the things right and that are aligned with what you want. So that's pretty much how I work. So I also have, so if anyone would like to have a little bit, learn a bit more about myself and about my practice journey and what I do now, I have a website, amandagascoigne.com, and also thebalancedfirm.com, which that's where all my resources and courses, etc., are housed. I have a fabulous Facebook community called The Balanced Firm. So everything that I do is all around balance, you know, and really being totally, and balance means something different to everyone as well. You know, some people do only want to work that 3 and 4 days a week. Some people don't want to work, you know, after hours. Some people want to take a month or two off. Some people want to go and travel and be able to work remotely. Like no matter what people want, we can make that work. One of the things that I did in practice was pretty much work through like terms. So I would always have school holidays off. And when I talk to my clients about that, they think that's an amazing, you know, idea to do that. But I just found it it gave me a little bit of a breather. It gave me, you know, obviously when you're running a practice, you're not home, you know, you can't often be home right on 5 o'clock. There's things that happen. Maybe we do have to work on weekends sometimes. And, you know, maybe we have to just, you know, pick up some slack at certain times of the year and certain deadlines. But by doing that and having that, you know, that school term, it meant that we could have those sprints and then have that little bit of a break, and we then could be more present with our kids and with our partners, and you know, that's where we've gone into practice. So we don't just get those 4 weeks holidays, you know. But when I talk to people and I sit down and do their capacity budgets, I say, you know, how many hours a week do you work? How many weeks a year? And it's like 50, 60 hours a week. And then it's like 52 weeks a year. We don't even get holidays.
Okay.
You know, we've got to try to get back to really what motivates us for leaving quite well-paid jobs, I might say. Most of us have left really well-paid jobs thinking we can actually make more and have more flexibility on our own. So pretty much that's what I do. And every client that I work with is different, and all the coaching and is all different. So everyone gets what they need at the particular time, but they get the added bonus of having someone who's been there.
Yes, and that word balance comes back into play, doesn't it? All the time. So
Absolutely.
that was a very interesting overview. Thanks, Amanda. Is there anything relating to purchasing or commencing a business then that you would want to add to what our material today is looked at? And it's basically, here's a series of articles and forms that you can send a client, but it's not, I thought to myself then, this probably all sounds a little bit cold to someone. Obviously, accountants got to bring their own personality into all this. The accountant's communicating with the client. You know, this is just not going to turn up out of the blue to the prospect or the client. They've talked to you. You need to be enthusiastic. This is a value add they're getting. They've already been with the accountant for half an hour or an hour or perhaps even longer. And it's that I hope this is what we're talking about today is the icing on the cake to really convince them they've made the right decision to be going to you as the accountant, because you can do these things for them.
Yeah.
What would you think of that?
Oh, definitely. And I think, you know, any of the materials that, you know, as in the packages, I really would like you all to think about, you know, what are some of the things, how could I actually put my own flavor on these? So, you know, there's some incredible, I use a program called Canva, CANVA.com. And that's when I do all of my, you know, my lovely handbooks, and, you know, you can do letters, you can do flyers, all my tax planning was on that. Now, it's as simple as actually, you know, creating a bit of a template of what you like with all your brand colors, with all your logos, and actually putting that information in something like that as a document. And one of the things that I just saw, Peter, when you showed one of this table of contents, was the bookkeeping. And I thought, even though that bookkeeping is under there, under, you know, buying or setting up a business, anyone could pull that piece about bookkeeping, and you could nearly make that into like a little PDF document that you could have for anyone, even if it's a new client that's coming to you as a new client, just to give them a little bit of a refresher. You might want to put some tips in there and particular things, how you want things done from a bookkeeping perspective. So I think all of this, it can be, you know, across the whole gambit of what you're doing in your practice. This stuff actually is, you know, so helpful. I remember in my I do a tax time bundle for tax time, and in there I include a logbook. Now, you know, a logbook, it's, you know, costs you, wouldn't even be $1 to print it. But I did that. I had it all branded up with my logo at the front and my contact details, and just the standard little, you know, what you've got to do, and making sure they've got everything for the logbook. The amount of people that came into me outside of tax time and said, "Hey Amanda, could I have another one of your logbooks, please?" But they could go to you know, Woolies or the stationer to get something for a few dollars, but they, you know, they felt that mine was special. It looked nicer than the ones that you get from the, and, you know, they would give that. Do you mind if I give that to my son? He's just starting a business, or he's going to TAFE. Absolutely, you know, not, yes.
Great marketing.
Take two. Like, you know, this sort of stuff that again, it comes naturally. You think, well, they can get bookkeeping advice from the ATO, but they're not doing that. So if we can actually put our flavor on it, give it to them, and they see value in it, it just makes things so much easier. It just really, it's a great marketing thing, and it's a great thing to really keep those clients, that longevity of client relationships.
And it's the trusted advisor concept in play, isn't it? It's acting it out. It's like playing golf or football or whatever. You're on the field, you've got to perform, and it's showing the client or the prospect that you will go that extra little bit of distance to give them information.
It's caring, and it's, you know, and I think I often think a lot of accountants and advisors think, well, everyone's so different. Like, how can I use a standard document? And how many people are doing things from scratch each time? Now, of course, we're going to change it to the particular client situation, but there's a lot of element is very, very generic. So let's just get that in there. Tailor that, any of the resources that Peter has, you know, pull out what you need, tailor it with, you know, a few little things to make it more you. And then once the opportunity arises for sitting in front of a particular client that you might need to go and do some industry specific, maybe some KPIs, or maybe something that's industry specific to really elevate how you're going to be looking in that potential client's eyes or current client. That's all you've got to do, just to really personalize it. And I think I had a lot of standard stuff, Peter, and I think being in a small practice as well, you need to do things as efficiently as possible. So reinventing the wheel is not going to get you home early at night and making more money or making what you think. So we have to be as efficient as possible by utilizing resources such as yours that are there, and we just do the tweaks. And we shouldn't also undervalue that, because even though we've got that, everyone's paying for their subscription, but then if that only takes you an hour to actually do those tweaks, maybe it's not an hour worth of your time. What would it take you to actually create this document from scratch? You know, thinking about what it is. So if you are using some of these resources and, you know, putting, you know, something else into it, like, can you charge for this? And think about, you know, how long has it taken you, and then getting some standard fees, because we don't want you to be paying a subscription, doing things a lot quicker and more efficiently, and then letting the client be the benefactor of what you're doing. And I see that, and I actually think that's a big thing that's happened with automation from a software perspective. We're doing things quicker, but we're still paying the subscription. But when looking at our hourly rate, which hasn't changed or hasn't changed significantly more, we're actually realizing we've got to work so many hours to get the same amount of money.
And that's a big issue, and it's one that David Smith and Mark Holton from Smith Inc. have been talking about. But thanks very much, Amanda. I'm just going to move on now so we can finish today's session. I haven't got any questions, so I'm just going to talk now about our next webinar. We've got webinars for our members every week in July and August, and the next one is looking at survival in difficult times. I originally wrote that material probably about 8 or 9 years ago, originally after a cyclone, I think in Western Australia, and a few of our subscribers had contacted me and said the difficulties that their clients had. Over the years, I've regenerated it as different events have occurred, and it's been very important in the last 18 months because we've had COVID-19. I've come to the conclusion that it's going to be a permanent member of our suite of products, because there seems to be difficulties somewhere in Australia every year, or even within segments of businesses. So it's a product package that I really recommend to you. It's 38 questionnaires, which enable you to really drill down into a business, into your client's business. And then there's links to articles, obviously our papers and our other material, whereby you can be offering solutions to the client on any of the real problems that have emerged. And we're also looking at predictive accounting. This is the joint venture which we have started with Plan Guru from the USA and their Australian representative from Beyond Accounting Technologies, Paul Barnaby. Paul's a chartered accountant, fellow of the Institute, and has run an accountancy firm. He was the senior partner of a second-tier firm in New Zealand, and he brings great experience to this whole concept that our main role should be predicting the future, not recording the past. So if you want to listen to an interesting speaker, please join Paul Barnaby and myself on Monday, the 2nd of August at 12 noon. And to register for any of either of these webinars or the rest of the August program, please go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, and click on to webinars. Thank you for your support of ESS BizTools and ESS BizGrants. I just clicked the wrong. There, I was trying to get you back, Amanda, and I've got you. Amanda, thank you very much for your participation today.
That's okay, Peter. You're welcome.
And obviously, Amanda, you said you can be contacted on thebalancefirm.com and amandagascoigne.com. Is that right?
That's right. And in my private Facebook group called The Balance Firm, I'm on all socials, and my email is amanda@amandagascoigne.com. So if
Okay.
anyone has any questions about coaching, mentoring, you know, group coaching, which is another thing that I am looking at doing in the near future, let me know. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
And thank you, Mark. Mark has just put a comment. Thank you. So Mark was listening live. Thanks for your attendance, Mark.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for those of you watching us live today, and those of you who are watching this as a recording at a time that suits you a bit better. Thank you very much. Once again, if you do have any questions, please send us in an email, peter@eossbiztools.com.au. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.